over the last 5 years, in different regions at different pace. There's been a much more open approach to collaboration and partnership and integration. Three words I'd use to explain innovation would be ideation, disruption, and delivery. And the reason being that we start with an ideation, and it should be new ideas, new concepts, and a new way of approaching innovation or the challenge that you set. Disruption purely for the form that innovation should disrupt. It should be challenging, it should be new, it should be non-conformist, and it should try to look at a challenge or an opportunity in a new disruptive way. And then lastly, delivery, the most important of all three. If you can't deliver, if you can't implement, if you can't realize the value of your idea, it's not innovation, it's just an idea. So I would say those three, but firmly on the last of delivery. Implementation is really key. So my major at university was business, but I then specialized in marketing. So that was my specific area. And that, I guess that grew my passion, because what we learned from that was marketing is driven by a customer. So it was understanding the customer need or the customer segmentation or the customer opportunity, or whatever that might be about being a customer. And that really drove my passion for customer centricity, customer first. And I genuinely believe in innovation and in business, if you don't understand and try to solve what a customer needs or wants or may want, you don't have a business. So that would have been my passion, came from the major in marketing. Yes, so that would have been the man who led my first company that I worked for outside of university was the Virgin Group, and that would have been Richard Branson. So from an innovation perspective, and I've always looked up to him from a disruptive part. As a group, Virgin would always disrupt and look to new industries and look to new business models, but importantly, looked to the customer. What are the customer pain points? What do customers need? What do customers want? That could be from airlines through to mobility, to telephones, to media. And it was always that challenge. It was very much, and the group were a challenger brand. So I would look up to that, because challenge is the norm, looks to disrupt an industry and looks to create a new business model for the good, and wasn't afraid to fail. So I would take that from myself personally as around a mindset and an approach to learning. For me, it's trying to bring in as many different insights and learnings and opinions from various points. So practically, that would be, I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts. I think podcasts are a great way to get new opinions and new approaches and thoughts. Spending time with the broader network, speaking to people in my industry and also outside of the industry, and importantly, having a growth mindset. I'm a big believer in a growth mindset. Matthew Syed, who's a great author, talks about that mindset of growth, of not being afraid to challenge yourself, to look to new areas, the fact that you learn from failure and you learn from putting yourself into an uncomfortable, but a new zone. So that would be my approach of listening to other opinions, reading. I probably do less reading than I used to. It's much more from a podcast perspective now, and taking as much influence from others as I can. So I would say over the last 5 to 10 years, the banks are becoming much more innovative, and that's been partly driven by the growth of fintech. So fintech maybe 10 years ago was seen as a challenge. There were new specialized companies who were challengers. I think that's evolved over the last 5 years to become almost friendly enemies. This is the big banks versus the new fintechs, now into a much more collaborative environment. So I think that the drive and our advice and the way we talk to banks is they need to engage and collaborate and partner and bring fintechs into the organization, bring the speciality and the focus and the real laser customer focus on specific areas into the broader opportunity that a bank has. And I think they have over the last 5 years, in different regions at different pace. There's been a much more open approach to collaboration and partnership and integration. With an API network, it allows services to work much more seamlessly. Open banking is driving that from a philosophy perspective. So I would say that the drive for innovation is to look out to others, have that outside-in mentality, and don't think that you need to create yourself. You don't have to create it all yourself. It's going out and understanding your customer, back to the customer. What does your customer need? What does your customer want? Can you solve that yourself? And if you can't solve that yourself, go out to the partner ecosystem. So it's that kind of continual approach and philosophy of collaborating, partnering, but importantly, being able to integrate. It's very different from talking to a fintech to integrating a fintech. And an expertise, and it comes from practicing that many times to actually integrate. So I would say the collaboration is happening. There needs to be more time spent on the practical integration and making it a reality, rather than sometimes it's a bit of a theatre conversation.
Okay, truth or dare question, which one would you like to go for?
I'll go for truth.
So you have picked the truth question. Could you tell us what would you advise to little John when you were younger?
Oh, great question. So advice to myself in my younger years would be, I guess, to be probably more curious, more challenging, and question why a little bit more. So I think one of the great books, Simon Sinek always talks about start with why. Probably be a little bit more questioning on why do things work in a certain way? Why does business work in a certain way? And then look to challenge that. I think I probably took a little bit more on face value of how business worked. So I think that challenging mindset, be a bit more of a curious mindset, and be somewhat disruptive in that way. I think disruption in a positive way is the way we learn, and the way we evolve, and the way we make change. So I think that probably my advice would be to, in a young year, is read more, be more curious, build a broader network, get more opinions, discuss, challenge, argue, and try and make more of a positive change through innovation or through other business sense.
And you, what would you change in your organization to be more innovative? Share your comments in the video, and don't forget to subscribe to our series of conversation on innovations with UAE business leaders.